What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Thursday. Happy to have everybody along talking Titans and talking Titans offense and how so far through 2 games, the Titans offense is dead last in the NFL in an important metric. But they're also really good in a different metric too. So it's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde type of situation for the Titans offense through the first 2 games of the season. So we'll go through that. We've got some graphics, some visuals to show you guys to help tell the story about the Titans offense and why they are so Jekyll and Hyde so far through 2 games. We'll ask the biggest reason why the Titans are dead last in this NFL metric that I think is very important and compare it to where they were a year ago under Todd Downing as well. So we've also got the injury report that came out yesterday after Wednesday's practice as the Titans get ready for the Raiders game. There are some very important names on that injury report who did not miss practice yesterday, who did not practice yesterday overall. So we'll go through and ask who from the ones who missed practice is the most important to get back versus the Las Vegas Raiders. And it is a Thursday, which means I got the magic bucket right here, ready to go to see what we can do later on in the show. Zach, welcome in. Let's get this party rocking and rolling.
Yeah, happy Titans Thursday this week as we roll along. Titans trying to get off the snide, as they say, and get into the win column against the Las Vegas Raiders. We will talk a lot about the offense. I'm actually really excited about this conversation because, bring your own data. Bring that data. We got that data today. And
take that for data.
we're gonna be spitting knowledge today and talking about it in the chat. So excited about today's show. And then the magic bucket is what the magic bucket is, and it's a mystery. So we are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We will tweet out segment by segment our YouTube links. So follow us on Twitter at A to Z Sports. That's at ATOZ Sports. It's a great follow right there. You got practice content. You got all kinds of content going out on our Twitter feed. And if you're on YouTube, a lot more people are watching on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. Hit that subscribe button. And if you go through our YouTube shorts and all of our videos from yesterday, inside access, exclusive access into the locker room. So it's done very well. I don't think I know you cannot find any other outlet that puts it down like we do when it comes to organization and inside the locker room access whenever you need to hear players react about what they need to do better, especially when you're 0-2. So subscribe to our YouTube channel and on Facebook, The Real OGs, bottom left corner of your screen. Share now to public. Sharing is caring and caring is sharing on this show. More people are going to be piling in over the next 5 to 10 minutes. As you guys do, please share the show, share the broadcast, share it around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed. So without further ado, let's get this party started on a Titans Thursday.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media as we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Find links to the show, just like Zach mentioned, on our Twitter timeline and also on our Instagram. And we also got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for you and they help us out for sure. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying experience by going to see them in Lebanon or simply at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Plus, Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Better coverage, better rates, better service. Learn more about a health plan for you at fbhp.com/ATOZ. Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans. If you've been injured in a car wreck, call them right now today for a free case consultation, 800-800-4600. So, Zach, I don't think it's a surprise or a shock to anybody to hear that the Titans offense ranks dead last in a certain category. Do you think so? Or is that something that we've watched the offense the last couple of weeks? It hasn't been pretty, so to speak.
Yeah, well, after obviously, especially the third and fourth quarter. Real quick before we continue, because Paul asked any news, any Lawan news, and I think if you are, have a temperature of what the Titans are doing, you would have seen our reports, Buck Rising's report on AtoZSports.com, that confirmed what I guess a fan at BNA confirmed yesterday, is that he was flying to LAX, and we reported that he was, seeking a second opinion, for lack of a better term,
outside the Titans. Yeah.
On that knee. And so that's all that we know. We don't know what that outside opinion actually says or thinks about the knee, but they're still trying to figure that out. He's still on the injury report. He's still not practicing after being carted off. So Paul, that's probably the best that we can do is we try to advance that story with Buck's knowledge close to the situation. But I felt like we were kind of vindicated there yesterday with I don't know who's lurking in the BNA airport with the camera, but it worked, and I confirmed that sleeve as he was getting on a plane midweek.
Well, when you're 6'7", 320 pounds, and you have tattoos all up and down your body, and you wear a For the Boys hat all the time, it's kind of hard to hide in any airport, let alone BNA. But then you've got Ben saying if it's not torn, I don't know what could be wrong with his knee that would take this long to diagnose. And then Matt on Facebook says Paul Kuharsky said he was walking around like nothing happened. And look, like it doesn't matter. Like your ACL is not needed to walk around and live a normal life, because there are some former athletes who tear their ACL and just decide to never get it fixed. For me, I tore my ACL and then walked around the University of Tennessee campus for 6 weeks. I had my issues when I had been partaking on the weekends of mobility, but also, you can walk around a very hilly campus in Knoxville with no ACL with minimal issues, but you can't do anything athletically.
I have a trivia question for you real quick, and it's on topic. Who was the basketball player drafted by the San Antonio Spurs that had no ACLs? Do not look at the chat. I know what it is just because I know these things. But who was the basketball player that played with zero? He did not have ACLs in either of his knees.
What's his name? I know he went to Pitt. I know.
Okay, that was going to be my only hint that I was going to give you.
I don't know his name, but I know where he went to school. Oh my, it's going to kill me because I was trying to think of his name as I was talking about that. DeJuan Blair. Yeah. DeJuan Blair. I wasn't going to get it, but DeJuan Blair from Pitt.
The chat got you.
But no, I mean, I admit it. I wasn't going to know it, but the fact that I knew where he went to college was interesting. Yeah, but DeJuan Blair.
So it's a little side trivia, but that's the one guy I always think of, that this dude didn't have ACLs and still played. So when I saw that comment, because I saw what you just referenced, I was like, well, DeJuan Blair.
DeJuan Blair. That's the one guy. That's the one guy who's ever done it. All right. All right. So let's get back to our original topic here, because the Titans offense is dead last in an interesting metric. So here it is, right? This chart that I saw this morning, it was tweeted at us by AP on Twitter, so appreciate that. But Aaron Minion, who is a Pro Football Focus analyst, created a chart, Zach, for all NFL teams through 2 games for scripted plays versus non-scripted plays. So the non-scripted plays on the left axis, going vertically, the scripted play success on the horizontal axis there at the bottom. So EPA, right? Expected yards per play average for scripted plays and non-scripted plays. You see the Tennessee Titans right there. So scripted plays, which they have just said the first 15 snaps of every offense, right? So let's just keep it simple. The first 15 snaps, it's not meaning that everything's scripted there, but for every team, the first 15 plays of every game for their offense versus everything after the fact. The Titans second in the NFL in EPA in the first 15 plays, behind the juggernaut Buffalo Bills, who actually have even some distance on the Titans there. But then they are literally dead last in EPA after the first 15 plays of the game. So Zach, that's through 2 weeks. What was your initial reaction when you look at that?
Well, I was not only the Titans make sense because, I watch all those games and I know exactly how those games play out, but the other teams make a lot of sense. If you look like the Bengals and the Bears, they've gotten in like early holes, right? Like they've started slow. The Cowboys have started good and they were right next to the Titans, but they struggle in the second half. They didn't score, right? They were just fending off the Bengals in week 2. And this is just through 2 weeks. And then you look at the Dolphins and the Chiefs, they've had very strong second halves with touchdowns. But this, and then the Bills are out in front. This makes a lot of sense to me. Watching what the Titans have been able to do, and then in the third and fourth quarter, which ultimately is what wins football games, right? I mean, any football fan knows that the third and the fourth quarter are where you make your hay. It's where you separate yourself from the opposing team. And if you're having good starts and then falling off, you're giving more opportunity for your opposition to get back into the game and then win the game. That happened in week one, obviously, with a 13-0 lead after halftime against the New York Giants. The Giants ended up, kind of backdooring and winning that game because of the missed field goal, right? And then the Bills wasn't even close. The Titans, they had to fend off, I think, the adrenaline, right? When something happens, you ever been in a car accident, you have adrenaline. And then it starts to wear off, and then your neck starts to hurt because of whiplash. That happened to me a couple of months ago when I was in a car accident. And then you start to tighten up. No pun, actually pun intended, because of how bad the Titans have been after their car accident. They tighten up and they can't move. The third and fourth quarters are atrocious. I felt like the adrenaline of the Buffalo Monday Nighter. They came down. They had multiple third down spots in that first opening defensive drive. They couldn't make stops, and they made stops, and they relinquished fourth downs, and then the Zach Cunningham missed tackle. They gave up 7 points. They combated that adrenaline okay with a touchdown drive, right? It's 7-7. It's 7-7 at the end of the first quarter. And then all of a sudden, the tightness in the neck set in, and they couldn't do anything. And that's ultimately what is getting the results of the 0-2 start. But that metric, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so again, I'll throw it up on the screen. In 2022, the Titans are second in the NFL in EPA on their first 15 offensive plays of the game, and dead last in EPA after the first 15 plays of the game. Let's hear from Ryan Tannehill, who was asked about the scripted success, because 2 opening drives for the Titans in 2 games, 2 touchdowns. Now, that was the only points they got Monday night against the Buffalo Bills. But here's Ryan Tannehill on the scripted play success from yesterday's press conference.
Yeah, I mean, it's game plan plays, right? So it's plays that you've practiced all week, just like the rest of the game plan, and it's just some plays we like, so we call them early. But it really just comes down to execution, being able to execute the play that's called, that comes in, and do our job, nothing more, nothing less.
So obviously they execute early. And on what they practice on. But then Tannehill's like, you practice the whole game plan every week, not just the first 15 plays that you really, really like, but what they really, really like has been working so far. And Zach, I'm going to show you guys, and then we'll get the chat more involved on why the drop-off has happened so much. But let's look at 2021, right? Because if 2022, the Titans are second in scripted and dead last in non-scripted. Let's look at 2021. The Titans are right there to the left. So they're under league average in scripted plays and slightly above league average when it comes to the non-scripted plays afterwards. So I counted all the logos ahead of the Titans for you guys, so you don't have to. So in 2021, the Titans were 20th in the first 15 plays of the game and 13th after the first 15 plays of the game. So Todd Downing's the offensive coordinator for both those offenses, right? But it's been a lot better. And what I'm seeing in the chat, a lot of people saying, well, Tim Kelly scripts it and then Todd Downing ruins it after the fact. It reminds me a lot of Shane Bowen, Jim Schwartz relationship of last season when the Titans defense did something good. It was Jim Schwartz's benefit. When the Titans defense did something bad, it was Shane Bowen's fault. When the Titans offense does something good, the fans give Tim Kelly the credit. When they do something bad, it's Todd Downing's fault. That's at least what I've seen through 2
No one
weeks.
ever even talks to Tim Kelly. I bet you if you lined up Tim Kelly and you walked him through a Walmart with a bunch of Titans fans, nobody knows who the hell he was.
I disagree.
I think it's hilarious.
I disagree. Because he kind of looks like short-haired Dennis Kelly, people would recognize him.
Well, maybe now people would recognize
because
him.
everybody wants Dennis Kelly.
You just gave him a hint of who they're looking for.
Well, they know that Tim Kelly's Dennis Kelly's brother. I mean, they know they know that. They want Dennis Kelly back.
We knew that this was going to happen, in the offseason, that now you got Dennis Kelly in my mind, that Tim Kelly it was going to be the savior, right? And that Downing was going to be the fall guy. Now, Downing has got to take responsibility because he is the offensive coordinator, right? I mean, there is a responsibility that comes with that job description. You know, he has improved a great deal with the scripted plays. I mean, we sat there all of last year and it's like, why can the Titans, if only the Titans could get out to a lead and run the football and be who they need to be a running football team, give the ball to Derrick Henry and win football games. But they can't score to save their life on the opening drive, whether it's a field goal or a full-length touchdown. Through 2 games, they've been really spectacular when it comes to the scripted plays of the first 15.
Yeah.
The drop-off is demoralizing, though, I think, for the entire team because the lack of offensive production, as we know, it's a team sport. It goes hand in hand. The lack of offensive production affects the defense too, and they're being affected by it, especially in that Bills game. The defense, I felt like, was on the field for so long because the Bills kept getting in 3rd and 2s, 4th and 1s, and they kept going for it, right? And so that takes away from your defense if your offense comes back out there and goes 3 and out like they did early on in that football game, and that's kind of when it got away from them. So, I mean, these are polar opposites. I guess I'll kind of ask the question that we're going to ask is like, why?
Yep.
That doesn't make logical sense of how you can be so good and so bad and so bad and so good in 2 different years.
Yes.
No, short sample size this year. So that
is
fair.
Sure. But again, like they've already outscored their opening drives this year than what they did last year. Last year, they just had 13 points on opening drives, 1 touchdown against the Chiefs, and then 2 field goals against the Jets and the Jags. So what's the biggest reason why the Titans offense is the NFL's worst after the first 15 plays of the game? So what's the biggest reason why the Titans offense is the NFL's worst after the first 15 plays of the game? Zach, tell everybody about Wilson County Hyundai.
I have a perfect answer to this. Nobody is going to say my answer. I cannot wait. I think it is the correct answer. I can't wait
for somebody to say it in the chat before you get to it.
No, there's no possible way. I would bet $500 right now. There's no possible way that somebody will say exactly what I'm going to say. It's only 3 words, too. It's only 3 words.
Okay.
Only 3 words. Very concise. And that's what you need when you're trying to buy a vehicle. You want a concise experience. Well, Wilson County Hyundai can give you a concise experience with your perfect make and model. If you wanted, let's say you want a full-size SUV with 3rd row seating, all the bells and whistles, leather interior, great fuel efficiency at a great price. Well, you've come to the right place. Wilson County Hyundai can give you that. Concise. That's the Hyundai Palisade. That Palisade is sleek. It's not your mother's minivan. It is a new age car, SUV that the kids will love. I mean, they truly will. Wilson County Hyundai can either order that online for you, customize it, or you can go to their lot and test drive one today. That's wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
Download the BetMGM app and use our code ATOZ Sports, and you get a risk-free bet on pro football after your first deposit there with BetMGM. It's great. Do it. Absolutely. It's Thursday, which means tomorrow afternoon, A to Z Sports Picks presented by BetMGM will be live with Alan Bell, Brian Edwards. They got it at 2:00, and it can help you place that risk-free bet on pro football when you use our code ATOZ Sports. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. It's the only new customer offer. All promotions subject to qualifications, eligibility requirements. Rewards issued with knowledgeable free bets or site credit. For bets expired 7 days. For problem game support, call Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789. Zach, the question is what's the biggest reason why the Titans offense is the NFL's worst after the first 15 plays of the game? As we're quoting this chart here, Titans second best in the first 15 plays of the game, dead last and anything after the first 15 plays of the game. I'll send you to the chat to see if anybody else can guess your 3 words.
Darren says failing to adapt. That's
3 words.
Those are 3 words. They're not my 3 words. Offensive line is no good. Offensive line from Tank Sinatra. The O-line from Grim Jim. Downing, just in general, from Denise. Let's see. Todd Downing, a downer from Stephen King. Adjustments simply from Daniel. No AJ Brown from Travis Johnson. So
That's
talking about
also 3
AJ
words.
there. Always being predictable. Those are also 3 words, but not my 3 words.
I like the 3-word guesses. Just this is fun for me.
Wilbur says personnel, offensive line from Eric Davis, lack of time for Tannehill to throw, Downing in general from Danny, Ryan Tannehill from Big Ten Jeff, Tannehill / Downing, it's 50-50. Caught mentally weak from Leo. So he's going team mentality. Travis goes AJ Brown. 0 playmakers, period. That's also 3 words. That is not my 3 words. Let's see. Lack of creativity and adapting from the offensive coordinator. Okay. No, that's not it. Ditch the pitch. Those are good 3 words. Ditch the pitch. Those are not the 3 words that I'm thinking of. Failing on philosophy. That's interesting from Darren. So we've had some good drowning with Downing. Now we're bone and joints. Poor draft picks. So, there's a lot of offensive lines. There's a couple AJ Browns. Yeah. There's obviously Todd Downing's predictability from Downing. Do you want to go first and wait on mine? Do you want to hear what?
I want to get a shot at guessing your 3 words. I mean, I'm going to go in 3 words. I don't know if this is going to be yours or not, but I think lack of continuity. And so that's what I'm going to go with because it's continuity with everybody. There's new faces all over this offense, whether it's the offensive line, especially with Lawan possibly being out long-term. That's 3 new starters in the offensive line. You've got 2 new tight ends. You've got all new wide receivers minus NWI. And I don't even want to count Cody Hollister because he's basically new from how little he's played, even though he's been around a lot. Then you've got Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill. So there's just a lot of new faces on top of Tim Kelly and Todd Downing being a new situation there together as well. So lack of continuity, things can go well early because you planned it. And then I think chemistry kicks in and chemistry from being on the same page with Tannehill and wide receivers. Chemistry kicks in when it comes to Tannehill at offensive line and pass protection adaptation. Chemistry kicks in with Todd Downing and play calling as the game gets deeper. So overall, and then you also have, these new faces and a lot of rookies you're relying upon with NPF, Traylon Burks, Kyle Phillips, and Chikakonkwo, 4 rookies who are being relied upon a lot in this offense early on. Lack of continuity is my broad answer that it leads to a lot of the individual mistakes that create the issue.
So the premise is absolutely correct. It's not the same 3 words. I probably went a little bit harsher in offensive playmaker ignorance. And ignorance, the definition by definition, is lack of knowledge or information. He doesn't know what his playmakers are. The only thing that Todd Downing knows is that Derrick Henry is very good. Derrick Henry can bust 75-yard runs. Derrick Henry, if you put him in a screen pass in space, if he catches it, he can make things happen. Derrick Henry, and this is what he doesn't know, if you hand the ball off to him instead of toss or ditch that pitch, you may get, but he is, and the offense is ignorant on the playmakers. Austin, you don't know. I don't know. The chat doesn't know. We don't know who can make plays and how they can make plays. And that's the key. Robert Woods just got here. Austin Hooper just got here. Traylon Burks just got here. We've never seen them make an unbelievable play. Not once in a Titans uniform. Not once. You've had 2 games to try to figure it out. And in the preseason, you really didn't because you were, and here's the difference. And this goes to Sam's stat that I think now is kind of shedding some lot more light. The Titans did exactly what they needed to do in the preseason. I'm not sitting here, destroying them for this. They needed to figure out a lot more about Malik Willis. But in the process, they didn't figure out what Ryan Tannehill can do with his playmakers. So now you sit here 0-2 going into week 3, and your offense, you have ignorance because you don't know.
Yeah,
And you can't play if what you don't know.
Yeah,
and if the thing that you do know, Derrick Henry, if doesn't work, now you're screwed.
Right. And I think you could even say that the Titans not playing Ryan Tannehill hurt him in figuring out his playmakers, right? That they didn't allow Ryan Tannehill to get out there under actual lights in real stadium settings to figure out who he can rely upon. Because here's the weird thing. Because I went to training camp. That was my 10th training camp cover the Titans. And I've been to like 80% of practices over the last 10 years, minus the COVID year, right? Nothing has seems to truly translate from this training camp into the first 2 weeks. As in Austin Hooper, attention. Like, well, again, the only thing that I've truly seen translate from training camp to in-game was Kyle Phillips being the go-to guy in the 2-minute drill at the end of the Giants game. That's the one thing that I'm like, yep, saw that all training camp long. That's the one thing. But Treylon Burks' deep balls haven't translated. Robert Woods' reliability over the middle hasn't yet translated. And just Austin Hooper, just volume targets is just nowhere to be found and confuses me. But also just deep balls in general. Like, how many times did we talk about throughout camp that they are pushing the ball down the field? And maybe Racing McMath not being available is part of that, because
no, I think it's the offensive line. It's what the chat was saying is that Tannehill hasn't had time to do that, right? Because that takes time. And what traditionally they've done in the offense to yield said time to throw downfield is to have Derrick Henry as a threat. And Derrick Henry has not been a threat for 2 games. He hasn't. I mean, 13 carries for 25 yards. You get yanked in the third quarter. And a lot of his work was done in the first quarter and the second quarter of the Giants game. So,
yeah. And so I see comments like Eric Alonzo's, like, he says, what WTF is Tannehill getting you? Tannehill is so far down the list of problems for the Titans offense. I don't understand how people are calling for his head already. Like, it just doesn't
that's the case, man, right? Todd Downing is going, and Ryan Tannehill honestly should and probably did know going into this year, this is the biggest year of my career as a starting quarterback.
And he's talked about that, yeah.
And Todd Downing is going to be attached to it. So I really need, if I'm Ryan Tannehill going into this year, I really need Todd Downing to be his best and my best, so that it doesn't turn to disaster, because unlike other years, Malik Willis is lurking in the background. I do not think that Malik Willis should start or is better than Ryan Tannehill right now. No. But once you get to a point in the season, all of that stuff doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I think
if you're not competing.
I think we're minimum 2 months away from that situation. But Max brings up a interesting point that has carried over from last season in Todd Downing's first year to this year. Why don't the Titans move the pocket with Tannehill? Because what did Arthur Smith do so well? Let's think back to 2019 and 2020. How many times did the Titans early in games do a play action rollout where Tannehill either hit Jonnu Smith for a first down or ran it himself for a first down? Like, I can remember in like 2020 alone, like 5 times where that was the first damn snap of the game, where Tannehill picked up 11 with his legs or hit Jonnu to pick up 13. In the flat, right? Like, when's the last time they've moved the pocket for Tannehill, especially if you have an offensive line that's not exactly the best, that straight up pass setting, like Aaron Brewer getting shoved back in your face because he weighs 280 pounds. Well, you don't have to keep Ryan Tannehill right behind Aaron Brewer's 280-pound rear end. Move him, right? But there hasn't been much of that with Todd Downing like there was with Arthur Smith.
Yeah, and I think, look, Assad brings up, answer me this, what happened to the bet trying to make, saying Tannehill's going to have a career best with a deep ball. I think that's what the point that we're bringing up is, that you saw a lot of that in training camp, like you saw other things. And just through 2 weeks, I mean, it's early, right? I mean, it doesn't mean
Assad's
that it can't
asking
change.
To eat crow after 2 weeks. Like, it's been
I
like,
can't.
It's
I will
like
eat crow if
7%
crow
of the
needs to
season.
be eaten. Right. Yeah. I will eat crow if crow needs to be eaten, but we're 2 weeks into the season. But the fact is, where Assad is correct is, and what you just said, Austin, is we haven't seen the things that we thought we were going to see based on training camp experience. And like I said, I go back to my 3 words: offensive playmaker ignorance. The reason why the offense is ignorant is because Tannehill never got a single ounce of opportunity in the preseason to try to figure some of the playmaking ability out from his playmakers. Tom Brady even played. I mean, right? I'm not killing him. Tannehill doesn't need to play every preseason game. You had a unique experience because you drafted Malik Willis. But I would not have been upset if Tannehill played a series or 2 series like Tom Brady did.
Yeah, Sam and I had a conversation the Friday before the last preseason game, and I said I think Tannehill needs to play because the last time he showed up in that stadium and threw a pass, it was intercepted by the Bengals linebacker to end the season and created the dark offseason that he had. But again, that's not. But that's not been the issue, right? Because they came out the first drive against the Giants and marched down the field for a touchdown, and he threw a brilliant pass to Dontrell Hilliard. So that hasn't been an issue. All right, but Mike Vrabel did answer the question that we asked all of you guys. Basically, is what's the biggest reason why the Titans offense ranks dead last in the NFL in plays after the first 15 snaps in the game? We'll get to Mike Vrabel's answer to the question. But first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to go to, know who to trust. In Franklin, they have a massive campus. It's beautiful. It's awesome. You go in there, and there's 3 different floors of 12-plus doctors who specialize in any type of injury you could possibly think of. They also have an in-house rehab facility that is state-of-the-art as well. You can check out our guy Dave runs that part over there with the Bone and Joint Institute. But they also have satellite campuses for your convenience in Brentwood, Nolensville, and in Thompson Station. So just go check them out, boneandjointtn.org.
Got a good comment that I'm going to read before we hear Vrabel that I was looking at before I saw or you were reading about Bone and Joint Institute. Do want to tell you guys about BetMGM. Download the app today in your Apple or Android store at ATOZ Sports. So you have a promo code tab, ATOZ Sports, ATOZ SPORTS, all one word. That's your promo code. You get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 for new users on your first bet. Download the app today. So, Austin, here's a good comment from, and of course now it goes away, but it was from, I believe it was Chad. And if I can scroll back up, and we've got a lot of comments, but essentially what, and the damn thing went away. And I'm trying to scroll back up.
Yeah,
but Chad had a good
comment for commenting so much. Was it Chad
Here it
Caldwell?
Is. I found it.
Okay.
That was my bad. I got lost. There was literally 100 comments in between. They need to, and he brings up this. So kudos to Chad. They need to bring Robert Woods in motion a lot more and hand him the ball off on a jet sweep. Come back to 2 plays with a jet sweep play action. So he's a little bit more specific than I wanted to be, but that is how the Rams utilized Robert Woods a lot within the Rams offense. Now, different responsibilities, different team, different offense, but I feel like putting him in motion, I do think helps his attributes to find out and get rid of playmaker ignorance, because you can only go on what maybe Robert Woods has done. This is not Chig on a sweep. This is Robert Woods, a lot more experience, right? And it's got to be in the right situation, not on 3rd and 1. But you've got to, and they've tried bubble. We saw them do bubble screens with Robert Woods with the face mask from Ben Jones in Buffalo. But getting Robert Woods, his singular plays, it's like finding his bucket. They just like they never found Julio Jones' bucket last year. They had no idea. We had old Julio Jones. What is Julio Jones' bucket? They couldn't tell you after a full season. They have to find out really quick.
There was a lack of, but again, with Julio Jones, there was a lack of availability that stopped them from being able to find it, right? With Robert Woods, he has been I don't think he's really missed a practice up until this point. He's been limited in some situations because of his knee over the summer, but they should have a chance to find that soon, and we'll see how that goes. And he's been used as a motion piece because he is a movement wide receiver because he's a good blocker too, interior blocker. So
let's get to Vrabel.
Yeah. Vrabel, again, we asked the question, what's the biggest reason why the Titans offense is the NFL's worst after the first 15 plays of the game? Mike Vrabel was asked the same thing this week in a press conference.
Probably just sustaining, just a play here, a play there, a penalty. We talked about, the things that lead to scoring drives. You have to make some conversions along the way. You're going to have to hit some X plays along the way. You're going to have to avoid critical errors or penalties along the way. And so, if you look at a lot of these drives in the NFL, they usually have, the ones that lead to points usually have some X plays and 2 or 3 third down conversions, maybe a 4th and 1 along the way, and then some of the drives that get stopped, albeit without a turnover, obviously, but there's some critical errors and you don't block somebody, leads to a negative play, or there's a penalty that puts it in 2nd and 20. So I think we're spent some time this morning focusing on those exact things that we just talked about and trying to show our players what it looks like when we do some of those things offensively, how those drives can lead to points.
So there's Mike Vrabel there, and I'll let you react to it because I believe that's the first time you've heard that in its entirety. So what was your takeaway there?
I mean, he's blaming, it's not external, it's internal, right? Like he's blaming the team. It's, we're not doing our job. We are making mistakes. The execution. So what I hear from that is that the premise of the offense, this is why he's not going to fire Todd Downing, which we knew, but he confirmed that this week, is the premise is that the idea and the philosophy and scheme is correct. The execution is not. So if we change the execution, we will yield a much better result. And if we don't have the penalties, which I will say, notoriously Mike Vrabel's teams are not highly penalized. They're not the Oakland Raiders, the old Oakland Raiders at least, that were just, penalty central. So now you have this unique thing that has come in and involved. You have missed blocks, Austin. On the toss, the ditch, the pitch, most of the time, it's not necessarily all on the play. It is on missed blocks. Now, if you can't execute that, you need to stop running that play. And they've obviously keep running it. But I think he's looking at key situations that the Titans are doing wrong, not the overall overarching philosophy.
So I kind of grouped them in 3 categories. It was negative plays and penalties, right? And negative penalties are negative plays, but those happen because of mistakes. Like I think, and let's just go to the Bills game, right? Let's just go to the Titans' second drive. They get a first down there initially, and then what happens? Tannehill sacked for a -8 yards on 1st and 10, so now they're 2nd and 18. Then they run for 4 yards. Now they're 3rd and 14. That's when Treylon Burks had the great play to convert, right? So you had an X play that kind of got you out of that hole. But what happened on 1st and 10 again? A negative play. And this was a bad decision. So there's 2 types of negative plays. There are mistakes, then there are bad decisions. Because this negative play was the second toss play of the game where you lost 4 yards the first time, you lost a yard this time. So now you're 2nd and 11. Now, then the next play, there's a mistake because that was the screen to Robert Woods that gained 17, but the face mask on Ben Jones cost you 15 yards. And I call that a mistake because that's an accident. Like, what do you say to Ben Jones, who's 34 years old, played in the NFL for 11 years? What if he comes to the sideline after that face mask? You're going to say, you can't grab his face mask. Ben Jones says, I know that. Like, it's a screen. The offensive lineman's moving in space. It's just a flat out accidental mistake, but you can't have that. But it's not like Ben Jones does that all the time. It was just something that unfortunately happened to ruin a drive. And so you have to limit your bad decisions. And mistakes are always going to happen. But if you limit your bad decisions, then maybe you can overcome some of the natural mistakes that happen.
But that's not what you're saying. The opposite of what Vrabel is saying. You're saying that because he's not saying it's the decisions made by the coaches. He's saying it's the execution by the players and the mistakes made or things not happening, right?
Well, and so I do think I wanted to go to a comment too, because they kind of put it nicely, because Vrabel sounds like he's placing the blame on the players. And then there was a comment that came in that basically said, like, well, it's his fault because they're the one who picked the players, right? If the players continue to make the mistakes, then it's the coach's fault but at some point then it's their fault that the mistakes continue to happen. And the bad decisions are the toss plays, right? Because there are 3 times in that first half that the toss play put them in a bad situation. They got out of it once. They couldn't get out of it the second and third time. And so if you understand that your athletes and your players cannot execute a play, you can't continue to call that, because now that's on you.
So I'm going to bring up one player's name, and it's Thursday. It's Titans Thursday. They played on Sunday. Well, I guess they played Monday night. So even shorter. This makes it even a little bit more eye-opening. Austin, what do you think the impact of Hilliard not being available for that game was? Especially what happened week 1. And he had some good plays, obviously 2 touchdowns in the passing game. But Dontrell Hilliard has, I think, opened up the offense in a much different way that this offense has not had before. Foreman did a very nice job, but Hilliard, I think, I'll kind of answer my question before you answer your. I think that had something to do with the game plan, especially when you were behind.
Yeah,
and you're in passing situations, and you just gave examples where you're in even more passing situations. And instead of taking sacks, there's a check down, but it's hard to check down to players that don't have as much experience, or Derrick Henry's not a third down back.
Right. So I'm going to steal this from our Sam Phelan. So I was talking to Sam about Dontrell Hilliard specifically. Sam put it really well. Dontrell Hilliard is one of the Titans' only weapons that doesn't have a high predictability rate on what the Titans are going to do. Derrick Henry's in the game. They're going to run some type of run play or run action towards him, right? He's out of the game. Usually they're going to pass. So Derrick Henry has a high predictability factor. Cody Hollister, high predictability. Jeff Swaim, you get those type of guys. Traylon Burks, Kyle Phillips. They're probably going to pass the ball in those situations. Where Dontrell Hilliard comes in, they've run the ball with him in the past, and they've thrown the ball to him. He has been a pass protector, and so he's probably the Titans' best combination high-end speed and quickness combo guy. Because Burks might have the best high-end speed, but not the quickness. Phillips got the quickness, but not the high-end speed. I think Dontrell Hilliard, the best high-end and quickness combo. And so he gives you some of that explosive ability that's not as predictable from a personnel grouping. So I think Dontrell Hilliard's very important. Yes.
It's funny because we have A to Z Sports Dallas, right? So I watch all the Cowboys games, and I kind of always have. But they're in the very similar situation. And Zeke is Derrick Henry in this case, and Tony Pollard is Hilliard. And you can just do more things with the offense. Zeke, look, Derrick Henry is better than Dontrell Hilliard, right? Tony Pollard, though, gives you exactly what you just described, right?
Sure.
It's it's the switch up that is valued by the offense to keep the defense on their heels, especially on passing downs, right? Because it's one more guy that you have to cover that can get a first down, where Derrick Henry plays have to be set up for him. Now, the awesome thing about Derrick Henry is if you set up the correct play for Derrick Henry, game changer, right? It's a touchdown. And Hilliard can't necessarily do that consistently.
Yeah, and let's Kenyatta. I don't know if Kenyatta's having a conversation with other commenters and on Facebook. He says Haskins put up more numbers than Henry did with less carries. They should have kept Haskins in on the runs. Like I think it's just completely two different. It was a preseason game when Hassan Haskins was getting a lot of his production.
And in the preseason and in the second half of the Bills game.
And for people like Mark who are too dense to understand, we know Derrick Henry is better than Zeke. That's not the freaking point that Zach is making. It's the fact that they represent stylistically the same role of the offense. Like,
because,
come on,
look,
guys.
Feed
Yes.
Zeke, feed Derrick Henry, right? That's like, what we all say because they're the best player.
Why is that difficult for some people to understand? It's stylistic roles of the offense is not comparing the actual performances of the player.
But my point is, I do think that the offense can improve if Dontrell Hilliard is on the field because he was not versus the Buffalo Bills.
Absolutely. A to Z Sports here live on this Thursday. We do have the injury report update, and we'll find out maybe where Dontrell Hilliard is at because they could use him back. But there's a few key players on the injury report today, yesterday that the Titans need back. So which Titans player who missed Wednesday's practice is the most important for the Titans to get back versus the Raiders? So we'll get to that here in a second. Which Titans player who missed practice, and we'll show you the injury report there too, is most important to get back versus the Raiders. But first, let me tell you guys about Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers. They are the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans. And whenever you have been injured in a car wreck, you need to get the most money you could possibly get. And you fighting the insurance company is a losing battle for you. But Hughes and Coleman fighting the injury company is a win for you because they've collected over $1 billion from their clients across the state of Tennessee and also in the state of Kentucky as well. So check them out. Hughes and Coleman is where to go. 800-800-4600 is their phone number. That's 800-800-4600. So check them out. If you've been injured in a car wreck, you can get a free case consultation when you call that number, 800-800-4600, principal office in Nashville, Tennessee.
BetMGM, they drive our show. They can drive maybe your pocketbook. If you use the promo code ATOZ Sports, if you're a new user in the promo code tab, you get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 for new users. Go to the App Store and download it today. It's Thursday. You got Thursday Night Football. You got Browns and Steelers are tonight. Then this weekend, you got a full slate of college football and pro football. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. You need to download that bad boy on your phone, on your Apple or Android app store.
All right, so Zach, we asked which Titans player who missed practice Wednesday is most important to get back versus the Raiders. So here is Wednesday's injury report for the Titans. Now let's remember this is an estimated walkthrough because the Titans play on Monday night, especially on the road. Their Wednesday practice will be more of a walkthrough style. So in a walkthrough practice, you see guys who were named as limited, right? Kyle Phillips, Joe Jones, Dontrell Hilliard, limited with a hamstring. Christian Fulton, limited with a hamstring. Traylon Burks, Danico Autry, Ola Daney, and then Lawan, Jamarco Jones, Bud Dupree, and Ugo Amadi. So of these players I'm going to list, Zach, Phillips, Burks, Dupree, Autry, right? Phillips, Burks, Dupree, Autry. Which of those four is the most important to get back for the Raiders game? I think Christian.
Danico Autry says not injury related.
Yeah. So okay, so we can remove Danico Autry. There was some confusion with how they did that because if it was a walkthrough. So the Titans, it was not exactly clear a lot throughout yesterday of limited versus did not practice because of the walkthrough status. And some guys were not visible in the warm-ups when the media could go, and then they just showed up after warm-ups, right?
Well, let's also we'll remove Taylor Lewan. We all know that situation. He ain't coming back. He ain't playing, or he ain't coming back this week, let's just say, right?
Yes.
Lewan is removed. I think we talked about Hilliard, which that's kind of the direction that I'm probably going to go because we talked through it.
Okay.
But how bad was the Titans secondary? Look, I don't know if Christian Fulton is going to be and this is the word that Vrabel was searching for over the weekend, is magic elixir. Not formula, not juice. It's elixir.
I've caught Vrabel using the word magic like 2 or 3 times since the Bills game.
They need to find it quick before the Raiders game.
Yeah.
Bud Dupree, I mean, he didn't return. He didn't return because it was a blowout, or he didn't return because his injury didn't allow him to return. There's some question marks there. I think this offense has got to get going. I'm going to say Hilliard. That is my final answer. I'm going to go Hilliard. I'm going to go kind of off script there because I just think that switch up and capitalizing on the momentum that he gained in week 1, I do think is something. It's a good switch up, and offensively they must be better. These guys scored 7 points.
Yeah.
You ain't going to win any game scoring 7 points.
No. It's hard to, I mean, you're right. The offense got to be better, right? But I just think Bud against the Raiders, without Bud Dupree, I don't know what you got coming off the edge. And I know that the Raiders offensive line is gettable in pass protection. And so Burks is huge. Kyle Phillips is huge, right?
Well, Burks hurt his ankle. It appeared on the play that the Bills player, and his name is
Dane Jackson.
His name.
Dane Jackson.
Yeah, Dane Jackson, who's carted off. On that play, it appeared that that's where his ankle got turned on. He obviously played on it, and it's not that big of a deal. So I'm not going to put Burks. I think that's fair for you to go Bud Dupree because who else do they have? It's a drop off.
Well, yeah, because now you've had Landry's already out, and then if Bud Dupree's out, then you're like, well, there you got Rashad Weaver and Danny got hurt. Like they were at a point, Zach, where they had to have Joe Jones rush the edge. Like Joe Jones is an inside linebacker who was not good enough to make the team initially. And they were playing the Bills in week 2, needing Joe Jones to be an edge rusher. Like that's just not a good recipe for success. Obviously.
Yeah, well, and you can't rely on just your interior defensive lineman. No. Defensively, you have to have exterior pressure.
And, Shannon, who has been spouting off a lot of things in the comments on YouTube today, says Dupree is a drop-off even with healthy. Like, I think Shannon is a box score scouter if he thinks Bud Dupree is a drop-off when healthy. Because do you realize how much better the Titans defense was as a whole when Bud Dupree was active on the field last season compared to when he was not? Like, good Lord.
But he has been hurt.
Oh, and now here's the thing about Shannon. Shannon could be a guy or girl's name, right? It's a different name, but Shannon's boyfriend is using Shannon's account. So now I'm trashing Shannon, who is not even commenting on the show.
Right. You're dragging your girlfriend's name through the mud in front of all these people. What kind of
boyfriend are you, dude? Like,
bro, God.
Oh.
We need to have a talk. We need to talk. There could be the boy. Shannon could be like, "Hey, I wonder what's your name?" That's kind of what I'm curious.
Shannon's out here doing all this right here behind his girlfriend's name. What kind of person are you, dude?
God, because you're now Shannon. I don't know, right? So,
yeah, like, come on. Nick says use your own account, bro. Like, do this for real. Like, don't just.
Wow.
I've seen Shannon talking stuff all day long, but on your
Shannon hadn't actually said a word.
No, it's ridiculous. Shannon's boyfriend be better. Shannon's boyfriend is
Shannon's
now
boyfriend.
Oh man, what a weak move.
So what is Shannon's boyfriend? So let's get to know Shannon's boyfriend. First of all, here's some questions. Where do you live? What is your first name? Well, we already know your girlfriend's last name, so like you can actually tell us. So what's your name? And then what's your favorite team? I'm kind of curious. It doesn't sound like he's a Titans fan, which is okay. Look, we have Bills fans, we have Eagles fans, we have tons of different people that watch this show. And I say that because let's talk about y'all's inability to move on from A.J. Brown. Well, yeah, that is true. The Titans have failed to move on from A.J. Brown through the first 2 weeks. So it's Robert. Robert Manning, I think he watches the show. So,
all the time. I thought this was Shannon.
So Robert, okay, so here's the funny thing. I know more about the Titans than you do. How far do we want to go back? So Roberto, you're in the chat on your girlfriend's account, and we're up here. That's all you got to say. So you can know about Earl Campbell and Warren Moon and all you want, but you're using your girlfriend's account on YouTube, bro. So I'd say clam it up a little bit and get a new account.
Gosh. Oh man. Comment from G-Man. Shannon is the Manti Te'o of the chat.
Oh man, Manti Te'o. Real quick on that. So I watched the documentary.
I'm a third of the way through it. So don't.
Okay, I won't say anything. The only thing I'll say is like Manti Te'o is a good dude. That is a good guy.
Yes.
And it took a documentary 10 plus years later for us to find that truly out. Obviously, the world changed and social media changed, but Robert is the Manti Te'o.
I just can't believe
Catfish Robert. I mean, it's got to be Catfish Roberts.
I just think calling him Shannon's boyfriend is my favorite. Like, I don't even want to call him by his real name. It's just Shannon's boyfriend.
Fair. Shannon's boyfriend.
All right, let's get to the magic bucket because now that we've embarrassed Shannon's boyfriend, we might as well go ahead and embarrass ourselves. So magic bucket time on this Thursday. But Zach, tell us all about Farm Bureau health plans.
FBHP.com is where Shannon's boyfriend should go. And Shannon's boyfriend is going to have a whole new look on life when Shannon's boyfriend actually makes the switch to Farm Bureau health plans. FBHP.com/A to Z. Once Shannon's boyfriend logs off of her account, he's going to log on to FBHP.com. And then all of a sudden, he is going to take a quick health assessment. And he's going to find out if Shannon's boyfriend is healthy or maybe it's a different plan. And who knows? I hope that Shannon's boyfriend is healthy. And if Shannon's boyfriend is in fact healthy, he's going to get a great plan. And that plan is going to probably save him a lot of money. He's going to have better coverage, better service, better rates across the state of Tennessee. If Shannon's boyfriend actually lives in Tennessee, you can get hooked up with FBHP.com/A to Z. That's Farm Bureau Health Plans. It is a plan for everyone, including Shannon's boyfriend.
Download the BetMGM app, use our code ATOZ Sports, and all you get is a risk-free bet up to $1,000 on pro football. So check it out there. Just download the app, then use the code, plug it in, ATOZ Sports, make your first deposit and your first bet on pro football risk-free up to $1,000. All right. Ben says, Shannon, blink twice if you're okay. Yeah, let's hope Shannon's actually okay. Shannon's boyfriend's taking over things. All right, so it's my sticker week. And now we're getting a lot more information. Robert graduated from the University of Tennessee when Peyton Manning was there, and his last name was Manning. So now Robert Manning. So now we got the full whole name. So now we're good.
He's related. He's a legacy of Manning.
He's the
long lost brother.
The fourth Manning brother who
Cooper, Eli, Peyton, and Robert are Shannon's boyfriend.
All right, so Magic Bucket. It's my sticker week. I told you that I collected 4 or 5 random stickers from a birthday party I was at several months ago. This is the last of those stickers. I don't even know what it is. It's just rain boots with some type of Chinese script on it. I don't know, but it's a sticker and it's something that's going to get me to buy me another week.
Another week. Hey,
yeah. It just buys me another
sticker.
week.
If it sticks, it sticks.
It's a sticker. And so now I'm out of all of those. Okay. Man, that AJ Brown sticker right there.
We're going to have, and this is good, Danny, we're going to have a Shannon's boyfriend parlay of the week. Presented by BetMGM. No
All right,
royalties.
this is mine. Oh man, you had to do this and it was great. Now I have to do it. You did really well. Using a Sopranos accent, give us your 3 keys to success for the upcoming Titans game.
Ooh. This is one of the more fun ones.
Yeah, I'm not as creative as you are like that though. This is not my wheelhouse. So I'm gonna think.
Yeah, I did that. So you can, I'll do mine and then
You come back to
30 seconds. Is that right?
Yeah, 30 seconds. 3 keys to the game. All right. I had to do this and I failed at it. So you have to Monday when you get back. You have to try to juggle 3 pieces of fruit. Any fruit of choice. Of your choice. I don't get to choose your fruit. Just your choice.
I have to go get some fruit.
Do you want to know what I did? I mean, I'll help you out. It's an easier fruit to juggle because of its size and it's like the Clementine orange.
Yeah. The Halos.
Yeah. Or the Cuties. I think I got the Cuties brand.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's Pepsi and Coke right there.
Yeah.
Cuties and Halos.
But I knew these were for the juggling. So I wasn't worried. I was more worried about the shape and the rightness of it.
Oh, you know what? You know what's coming back in season? Those apples. Those Honey Crisps. The Honey Crisp apples are about to come back in season.
No, they're always in season for me. I just have to pay for them when they're not in regular season.
Yeah, there's the seasonal. You can get avocados year round. You're just going to pay a lot higher when they're out of season.
I have a 1 Honey Crisp apple every day, and I just have to pay for them a lot higher.
Hey, well, and I'm making the and for those new to the show, I'm going to Oxford for the Titans bye week for Auburn Ole Miss, and I'm cooking up my homemade apple cinnamon vodka. And so Honey Crisp around the corner. So I'll put that on my calendar because that's what we do now. And Juggalos, Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah. Okay. You want to get 30 seconds on the clock?
I have got 30 seconds on the clock.
All right. Fun fact, I've never seen The Sopranos.
That's not surprising knowing what your watching like habits, but it is awesome.
Sopranos came out when I was in like middle school. Like my dad watched Sopranos, but I was not old enough to watch it at the time. And then I just haven't gotten back to it.
Yeah, I watched it 2 years ago.
Well, it's HBO, right? And I don't personally have HBO. I don't care about HBO anymore.
Yeah, well, you're missing out on Game of Thrones and Sopranos. And
I don't care about
Hard Knocks.
Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is just not for me. It's too
it's good.
It's too
House
just
of Dragon.
Like fantasy. Dragons, zombies, vampires can go.
Yeah, but this is different. This is different. The Throne, man. The Throne.
Curb Your Enthusiasm, Nick. All about. All right. So I gotta quit delaying.
When you're ready. When first time you say gabagool, you start.
Gabagool, everybody. It's time for the Titans keys to beat the Las Vegas Raiders. And it's all about keeping this in the family. Coach Vrabel said you got to do this together. So key number 1, you got to play together like your family. But sometimes even when your family turns on you, you got to kick them in the knees too. And that's not a Taylor Lewan joke. Key number 2, you got to get back to running the football with Derrick Henry. And I swear, if Todd Downing does a toss play, I'm going to off him just like I did Cousin Vinny. Key number 3, sack the quarterback. You got to get after Derek Carr and not make him look like his brother David. That's the keys to the game.
That was better than I thought it was going to be. So that's pretty good.
I don't know. Like the Sopranos accent. I don't know because I've never seen
No,
the
but
show.
I think you got more comfortable with it as you went on,
Yeah.
right? It was just the tone was real, like, it was good. It was good.
Okay. I sound like Charlie Murphy as a mafia member.
You're real
I'll take that.
soft.
Yeah, hey. There you go. All right. That's the keys to the game. We'll see you guys tomorrow on a Friday. Sam will be in for Zach. Zach, you're flying out later today for a wedding. Football season wedding,
Yeah. It is what it is. My shade day got thrown off. My shade day got thrown off this week because it was on a Tuesday and Wednesday. And but you do what you got to do. That's life, right? You got to do what you got to do.
There you go. All right. We'll see you guys on a Friday. Have a great Thursday. Don't forget Buck Rising live tonight, A to Z Sports Primetime. And we've also got practice today. So Sam Phelan will be out there gathering information from Titans practice. So subscribe to our YouTube channel to see more of that practice coverage as well. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.